Alrighty, hi there everyone. My name is John O'Connor. I'm a mentor at Block, and this is Code Your Face Off Live. So this first meeting, I'm still kind of working out the format, so you guys will have to forgive me a little bit, but we're going to try this out and see what it's like. A little bit about me. So I'm a software developer. I worked in the industry since about 2000, so it's been the better part of 15 years now. I started out as a web developer. I moved into Android. I've done C++, Perl, all kinds of languages, and so I try to bring that background and that experience to my mentorship at Block. Let's see what else here. I'm excited to have you guys here, and I started this up because I have a lot of Block students. I mentor students throughout the week, and a lot of my students, it seems like they have a common theme to the mentorship, right? A lot of themes come up throughout the week, a lot of programming topics. And so I thought this might be kind of a fun way to sort of wrap things up, to give people an introduction to various concepts and to sort of revisit the lessons that I've gone throughout the week. So that's kind of the goal of Code Your Face Off. I know some of the students at Block have been asking about office hours, and thought maybe this would be a nice sort of way to get that started. I'll regularly try to bring in other people, other guests. My experience is pretty broad, but it's always nice to have other experience as well. And one of the things, I know we have a lot of full stack developers that might be interested in a Ruby on Rails discussion. And so I'll try to bring in other people that have these different areas of expertise, and we'll use that to sort of kick things off. Let me see here. So today I've got a couple of different topics that I kind of wanted to go over with you guys. And we'll start off kind of small. So we'll start off with a small chunk. We'll start with a development environment. So the one that I've been using, and I should say that I mentor at Block the front end and the Android course. So today I'm going to focus a little bit on the front end, and then I'm also going to have at the end a more broad discussion about regular expressions. So today we're going to talk a little bit about coding in the web using Cloud9, and then we'll jump into the regular expression discussion. If you don't know what a regular expression is yet, don't worry about it. It's, we'll discuss that. I'll tell you how to use them, where to use them, all that kind of fun stuff. So let me do this. Let me jump on over to our web interface, and we're going to start there. So you guys can come back and visit me every week. I'm going to be doing this weekly, wrapping up all the discussions that I've had with my mentees throughout the week, so you guys have a chance to kind of see it. And you can just come back to this course every week, and we'll have a new topic, new thing going on. Alrighty, so let's see. We're going to jump over to Cloud9. This is c9.io, right? So Cloud9 is a online integrated development environment. I noticed the Block has started to add this to the front end, to the full stack course. I've been trying to get us into this. I've been using Cloud9 since about 2011. And I really love it. It's gotten a lot better over the years too. It started out, it was a little bit, there was some rough edges, and with the last release last year, really kind of blew my mind. And now it's the IDE that I use the most often. Probably the only one I use maybe about the same as Android Studio. So really love Cloud9, and I'm going to show you guys how to get into it. It's a pretty easy thing to sign up for, to use and to get a free account. And in the beginning, they give you quite a few free accounts, so you can create these public workspaces and work on them for free. So let's go ahead and sign in. I have an account already here. And one of the things I really like about Cloud9 is you can share a workspace with other people. So a lot of my front-end students will be working on their Block curriculum, or the curriculum that they're working on there. And they'll want to share some of that with me. They'll want to pair program with me. And that's kind of hard to do. We can drop into TeamViewer, which will let us work together, but I really have to work on their computer. And a lot of times that's not convenient. So one of the things I like about Cloud9, and I'll show you guys that feature in just a second, is that my students can share their workspace with me, and we can actually work together in real time in kind of like a Google Docs for code sort of way. So let me go ahead. I'm going to create a new workspace here. So I just logged in, created an account. I already have one. If you don't have one yet, you can sign up. It's really easy, and it's free for the first setup for the public accounts, for the public workspaces, I should say. So I'm just going to create a new workspace for this lesson for Code Your Face Off. And it says I can't, only lowercase. All right, so Code Your Face Off. I'm just going to call it that. Workspace for code your face off. And we're going to leave this as a public workspace. So that means you guys can actually, if you wanted to, send me a link. I'll give you an invitation and you can actually jump in and start playing with it. You can actually work with me directly, and we'll experiment with that throughout these Code Your Face Off live sessions. I've used this technique before in college classes where I have students log into the public workspace and we all just kind of work together on it in class. So it's kind of a fun, interactive way of learning programming and of teaching programming. So I try to use that as much as I can. So you'll see that the basic workspace, now a workspace in Cloud9 is just an IDE, it's an environment. So if you imagine having your computer have its workspace and all of your links are set up, your SSH, Node, whatever tools you're using, they're all already going to be set up in this workspace. And you have different workspaces for different projects so they don't bleed across. If you're working on a Rails project in one workspace and a Node project in another, you can do whatever you want in either one and it's not going to affect the other. So it's kind of a cool deal. We can clone from a Git or Mercurial URL. So if you have a GitHub project that you're working on, you can just drop the Git clone, the Git link right in there, and it'll create a brand new workspace using that GitHub link. So that's kind of nice. And it'll set up the remotes for you automatically. So when you drop in, you put the GitHub URL right in here. You don't have to configure your remotes for Git. And some of you, if any of this sounds like gibberish or sounds, way over your head, don't worry about it. We're going to go through all these sorts of things in Coding Your Face Off Live. This is just for my general students in Block. They're going to know a lot of this because this is what we do in Block anyway. So, alrighty, and then we have a template. I usually just choose a custom one. You can just, if you want, you can have it pre-install these tools here for Django, Rails, C++, whatever you'd like. I usually just leave mine blank because a lot of the tools are already installed anyway. And then I'm just going to create this new workspace for us. And you see the process is really pretty quick. It's pumping it up right now already, and it's just going to be a moment. And while it is, I'll talk a little bit about. Well, actually, here it is. It didn't even have to fill time there at all. So this is a Cloud9 environment. It's a fully integrated development environment. So if you're a developer, you can do all of your coding that you need to do, all the testing, everything inside of this browser-based environment. And it's browser-based, so you can access it from any computer that has access to the internet pretty much. This is an open source project, so you can actually download the code for Cloud9 from GitHub. And let me see, I'm going to do github.com/ I believe it's C9. Yep, and you can actually grab the Cloud9 IDE code directly from their website, and they even have some instructions in the GitHub repos for how to build it. So if you don't want to work remotely, if you want to work on your local machine, that's actually fine. You can download and install Cloud9 on your local machine. It's not as easy of a setup as doing it online, but it's still a possibility if you'd like to. These workspaces can also connect directly to your computer through the Cloud9 site. So you can go to Cloud9, create a workspace that uses SSH to communicate with your local computer. So if you're a developer that likes to work locally, this is a great tool to use. You can use the SSH workspace, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, yeah, and so you can see we have a file tree over here, and this is just a regular file tree. You can interact with it. You can create new files, new folders, just like anything else, any other local IDE. You can see it has syntax highlighting. So if I create a new file, and let's say I call this, this is going to be my test.js file. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to type some JavaScript coding here just really quickly. Let's do this. I'm going to save this with a .js extension. App.js. This is just an example, and you can see it gives you syntax highlighting in JavaScript. It actually does syntax highlighting in a bunch of different languages. Let me see here. We can go to syntax, and you can see it has highlighting for just about anything you can think of. Cloud9 uses the ACE editor, which is a JavaScript library that has a lot of this already built into it. So you can actually, if you wanted to, embed the editor window that's in Cloud9 in your own projects. So if you have a project that has a code element to it, so let's say it has Markdown, you can add a Markdown to your site. You can use this ACE editor for free. You can actually embed it right into your app, and here it is right here. So kind of a fun, fun library that you can mess with, add to your projects. Let me see here. Yeah. So this is the Cloud9 environment, and the other piece down here you'll notice down at the bottom here is you have a terminal, and this is sort of fun. You can really, it's pretty robust as far as an IDE goes. You can move these windows around all you want, right? You can add it to this new tab. You can put them side by side. If we have multiple different code windows that we're working in, we can actually have them, one right next to the other. That's a pretty cool feature, and I actually use it a lot. So that's kind of nice. Let me drop the terminal back down here. I sort of like to work in this kind of configuration where I have my terminal down at the bottom the whole time. And this is a full Linux terminal, a full bash terminal, I should say. And again, if some of this is over your head, don't worry about it. We're going to be slowly exploring this stuff. But the idea here is that the developers that are used to this, you can use your terminal just as if you were on your local machine. In fact, this is an Ubuntu box here, a Linux box. So you can do pretty much anything you need to do. You can even install stuff as a root user, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm showing this off because throughout the tutorials, this is what I'm probably going to be using most of the time. You'll see me in this Cloud9 environment, and I'll be introducing you guys to features of Cloud9, some of the stuff that I use that I think is really cool. If you get a chunk of code, for example, that's poorly formatted, I do this all the time. You can go up to your view window, right? I'm sorry, it's in the edit window under code formatting, and you can select formatting. It'll actually automatically format your code. So if you have stuff in here that's, I can't do multiple things at once, so you'll have to let me type this out. My apologies. So if you have code in here like that's kind of oddly formatted, right? If it's got, the parentheses are off, this is off here, it just doesn't look right. You can go up to this auto formatter here, edit code formatting, auto selected, and it's going to pretty up the code for you. So, and I should say too, I talk to my students a lot about this. A lot of beginning programmers, they'll let their code just sort of get ugly, right? They won't take the time to add an indentation, right? They'll just kind of let it sort of get free form. And it's a surprisingly useful thing to have your code formatted properly. One of the biggest things you'll see here, and I see it all the time, is people will miss a closing curly brace. So if you have functions, for example, and in Node.js, you'll see this all the time, this callback hell, where you'll have a function inside of a function. Let's say test was a function, right? So we can say, having your code formatted well allows you to see visually exactly where, there we go. Allows you to see exactly where, and I know this looks ugly, but whatever. Let you see where these things go. So you can see that this closes right here because they're on the same visual level. This visual identification of closing blocks in a language like JavaScript is actually really powerful. And you'll see some languages like Python, they actually require you to have indentation. That's part of the structure of the language. JavaScript, C++, Java, a lot of these other languages, they're what they call white space agnostic. They don't care if you put a space or 5 spaces, or if you put everything on a different line. Most of the time that doesn't matter to the JavaScript. For example, you can do that, it's not a big deal. So a lot of programmers will sort of get lazy about it, and they'll not format their code. And after having done this for a while, I've realized that this is actually a really valuable thing to have your code formatted well. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you have a giant file that's formatting's all over the place, this edit code formatting and auto selected formatter is a really neat tool to have, because you don't have to worry about going through tab, getting all your stuff aligned yourself. You can just let JavaScript, let the formatter do it for you. So it's kind of a cool thing that Cloud9 offers. I'm sure other IDEs have it as well, but this is how you do it in Cloud9. So, all right. So this is the Cloud9 environment. You'll see me working in this a lot. I'll make sure you guys have a chance to really get to play with this. And a lot of I'll be covering not only stuff that I do in Block, which is front end and Android. I'm also going to be doing a lot of Node.js and back end work with Node and Express, because that's where I kind of live. When I was at Carte Blanche, that's what we used for our technology stack, was Mongo, Express, Angular, the whole mean stack. So I'm going to cover that quite extensively as well. And that'll be sort of out of the realm of what I usually mentor on, but I think it also is extremely valuable. So that's the Cloud9 IDE. If you'd like to get access to this, go ahead and create a Cloud9 account. And if you'd like to get access to this repository, I'm going to leave it as a public one. So just send me a message. You can send me a message through Hangouts if you're one of my students. If not, I'll make sure to put my email in the link on the YouTube video. And we can just share it right here, and I can actually just add people to it. So if you want an invitation, just send me a message, let me know, and I'll invite you to this. And you guys can try it out for yourself and mess around with it, and feel free to break it. There's there are plenty of really cool features of Cloud9 that make sure that I'm not too worried about you guys breaking it. One of my favorites is if somebody came in today and decided they wanted to mess with my file, and let's say they did a lot of this, they did this like 100 times, right? This could get really nasty and really mean really fast. So I'm not going to want to have to fix that every time. Cloud9 actually allows you to roll back to a previous version of your file. You can go to the File menu, hit Show File Revision History, and you can actually roll it back to a previous point in time. And you can see here, now I've gotten back to before this whole thing took place. And by the way, if you have multiple people editing, it's going to show me exactly who put in this junk code. So if you are thinking to be clever, I'll know who it was, and I'm just going to boot you out of the workspace. So be nice, don't be a jerk. But this is how I'd fix it. So we'll revert that, and now, bam, I'm back. This is kind of an interesting thing, and a lot of people don't know about it, but if you're using Cloud9, it's a super handy feature to have. And you'll see over here, I'll give you a little more of a tour of it. You see we have these labels, these tabs right here on the side. These give you other options that you may not see. I kind of like this outline method here. So this outline, if you have a large file with a bunch of stuff in it, a bunch of libraries, you can actually kind of separate it out, and this outline will show you each of your methods. So if you have something that, for example, if we're using Express and we have a method called add user, we'll have this callback here that does something, and then we'll have remove user. Right. I'm just going to add a bunch of really, quick fake functions here. Edit user. These aren't going to do anything yet, but you can see here on the outline now, it gives you a really nice little view of all the methods that you have, and you can jump to a method anytime you want. When we get a chance, and probably next time, I'll show you guys an example of a very, very, very large Node.js application, and you'll see once you have a large file like that, you can see how daunting it can be to find a specific method. This outline view becomes pretty indispensable. So kind of a cool thing to have there. Cloud9 has a built-in JavaScript debugger. If you're used to doing watches and breakpoints and all that stuff, Cloud9 is going to be there for you, and it's going to be pretty easy to do. And then this actually connects directly to a site called Hack Hands. So if you're working on something and you're totally stuck, and let's say your mentor's not there and your Slack channel's not really responding, and nobody out there's on Stack Overflow, and you really have to get something done, you can jump right into this live coding help and actually get somebody to help you with it right away. And it'll share the workspace with them so they can work inside the workspace with you as well. So that's our brief little tour of Cloud9. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and one of the reasons I started this was I see as I work with my mentees throughout the week, a lot of times I will see very common themes come up. They'll have a subject that was particularly difficult. A lot of students started around the same time, so they'll hit the same point in the block curriculum or in the curriculum that they're using pretty quick, about the same time. So I'll oftentimes actually do the same discussion or the same lesson with 2 or 3 different students. And I thought this might be kind of a nice place to document that. Sometimes we have a really great session, and I've had a few of them say, man, I wish we'd recorded that. That would have been really cool. We could go back. I could watch it later. So this is a chance for me to kind of document and distill those discussions throughout the week and document them and show you guys what we discussed. So this week, one of the themes that kept coming up was the idea of a regular expression. And if you're new to the idea, I know some of you out there are experienced, but bear with me for just a second while I describe it. A regular expression is, in computing, it's kind of a complicated idea, but essentially what it's used for is finding a piece of text inside of a large string. And if you want to get more into the technical details, the academic details of what a regular expression is, you can look up a concept called finite state machines, and finite state automata, like an automaton, a robot. Look those up if you want to get an academic understanding of regular expressions, how they work, what they are. It's a pretty complicated concept, but nothing is insurmountable if you want to find out about it. I'm not going to focus on the academic part. I'm going to focus more on what they are and why you would even bother using them. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the concept of a regex or regular expression come up as you're working in your development, throughout your courses. So what is a regular expression? What does it do? Why does it exist? I'm going to use this site, regex101.com, to kind of create an illustrated guide to regular expressions. So that's going to be this next phase of our discussion today. So firstly, what is a regular expression? A regular expression is essentially, at the beginning, it's just text. So if we have a string of text here, let's say one of the problems I had this week was somebody had an RSS feed, which is a feed coming from another website. And he was able to get it into a format like this. So it just gave him back HTML. And inside of that HTML was an iframe. And inside of that was a YouTube video. youtube.be/watch_v = some kind of whatever, right? And the goal of this was his goal, what he wanted to do was extract this YouTube link from this HTML that he was getting back from this web service. And I should say that this web service had probably 20, 30 of these feeds in there. So I'm just going to add a few right here, right? And in fact, I can even I'll make it a little uglier in a second so you can see just how useful this topic is. So what he wanted to do is extract this from this string. And that's what a regular expression is for. It's for taking a piece of text or a string of some kind and extracting it finding it inside of another very large string or piece of text or a text field or an RSS feed. So when you start out with a regular expression, first of all, you'll see these two slashes right here. And this goes back to a language called Perl, right? And Perl is a language I first learned around 2007 to 2008. The concept of regular expressions was really pretty elegant in Perl. It was one of the reasons Perl was even designed. And I'll give you a little test string here. When you were writing in Perl, the way that you would match a string is you would say, this is my test, and you would put this command =tilde and then a slash. And inside of that, those two slashes right here, between the two of those, is where your regular expression would go. And that became such a powerful and simple concept, a simple syntax, that now most other languages support that as well, JavaScript included. If you wanted to create a regular expression in JavaScript, you can actually just create it using these slashes, just like that. And that creates a regular expression. So if you see anything like this, it's kind of an interesting, you may not see this often because a lot of people don't know about it, but it uses the Perl syntax, and you can use the Perl syntax in JavaScript if you'd like to. So that's why you see these two slashes right here. Now, if you want to search for something in a regular expression, the regular expression itself, you just basically type out what you want to see. So we'll say, let's say we want to extract this YouTube video. The first thing I need to do is I need to find an iframe, right? And you can see this iframe, it matches. So I just type the word iframe inside the regular expression, and it's already going to match. That's pretty much it. That's simple, right? Regular expressions are not nearly as mystical as you might think. And funny enough, I work with a lot of professional developers who are scared of regular expressions. And I've always wondered why. Like, I'll hear them say, yeah, that stuff's just magic, and nobody really takes the time to understand it. In the next 20, 30 minutes here, I'm going to make you guys pros at regular expressions. You're going to understand how to read them, what they are, and hopefully it'll demystify some of the magic behind them. So that's the goal of this discussion right now. So yeah, you just match by putting a piece of text in there. And if I'm in JavaScript, I can say iframe. And now this will match this iframe text, right? Simple enough. Okay, so I want to get this source in here. Let's say I include source. Now it's going to match iframe source. So far, nothing too crazy or anything like that, and you can see it matches right here. Now, one of the first things you'll notice when you're matching in a regular expression is we don't know when we're getting it back from the service, when we're getting this iframe stuff back from our RSS feed, we don't know how many spaces are going to be in there. So right now we just have this one space and it matches an iframe, a space, and a source. But if it came back like this, well, now it doesn't match anymore. Even though this is valid HTML and this is still valid, it doesn't match anymore. So what we want to do here is not really match just a specific one space kind of character. We want to match any number of spaces. We want it to match even if it looks like this, because we can still extract a YouTube link from this. So the way that we do that is there's a character for white spaces. We can say, and you'll see this a lot. Regular expressions use these escapes. So if we want to match a space character, we just do a /s. And you see this backslash right here. This is how we escape special characters in regular expressions. So when we say /s, what we're saying is we want you to match a white space. Any white space character. It could be a tab, it could be a space, it could be a return, right? So we have one tab there, here we have one space. It matches both. And that's great, but we still are only matching one space at a time. Now we could do it like this, but then it only matches 3 spaces at a time. Or we can say, we can put a plus after this. And what the plus does is it says, whatever was before me, go ahead and match that 1 or more times. So if I have a space, and then I put a plus after it, it says now you can match even if you have multiple spaces in there. In fact, an infinite number of spaces. As long as you have 1, then you're fine. If you have 0, then it's not going to match anymore because it's a different phrase. But if you have 1 there or multiple, that plus is going to match it. So now we've matched iframe source. And we're going to say equals, okay, http://. And you'll notice right here, check this out. The slashes, there's a problem with slashes. Those are used to end the regular expression. So we can't use slashes by themselves. We actually have to do we have to escape them just like we did with this S. If we tried to do the S alone, by the way, it wouldn't work because now it's just matching iframes. So the slash says it's special. So we have these 2 slashes here and they don't match. We don't want them to break anything. So we're going to go ahead and escape those as well. And so you see now when we escape them, it says, go ahead and match this slash character, but it doesn't break the regular expression form itself. So if we were to do that in here, it now looks like iframe /s plus src equals http://. And now you can see why some developers kind of get scared of this thing, right? It looks a little ugly. It's hard to tell what it's doing right here. Whenever you see a regular expression, it just helps to break down each piece that you see. If you see anything that doesn't have slashes, it's just text. If you see something with a slash, it's a special character. This matches more than 1 space, and these are just escaping our backslash so we don't end the regular expression early. Nothing groundbreaking, hopefully. YouTube.be, and there's another one right here, the dot character. That's actually a special character as well. It says match anything that goes here. So if we want to match, let's say 3 characters, we can use dot dot, and you'll notice down here, see how it matches the BE? That's because when we have a dot, it's not a regular, it's not a literal dot, it's not a period. It actually means just match anything. And in fact, if we said dot plus, it'll now match the rest of the line because it says match anything as many times infinitely until you get to the end of the line. So we want, and here we want a literal dot. So in order to get a literal dot, you just escape it with a slash. So now it only matches this 1 period. It won't match the next character if we use another slash dot. All right, so literal character, period, BE. We got another slash there, and notice again, it's giving us this error. It's saying, hey, you're ending the regular expression early. So we escape it, and you see that, just a regular backslash will escape it. Watch, question mark, and again, another character that's special is question mark. There are quite a few of these special characters, and if you're using this Regex 101 tool, one of the things that I love about it is if you go down here, it'll tell you what these special characters are. It tells you how to create the escapes. It'll show you that a question mark means something special. And in this editor, it shows you also, it highlights it in blue when it's a special character. So when you have something and you're just typing it out and you notice it turns blue up here, that means you should look it up. Try to figure out what exactly you want there. A question mark is actually used to delineate having 0 or 1 of something. So it means it's optional. If we were to put this question mark here, it means that the H right before it was optional. So if we actually got rid of the H, you'll notice it still matches this screen, this string right here. In fact, it'll match all the way across. So we want to do this literal question mark. So again, just escape it out, and now we're using a literal question mark. V equals, and that's it. And we need something in between here. We want to say this can be any number of characters. It has to be alphanumeric though. So let's say we do an alphanumeric characters. We can use a /W. Let's see. So that'll match any non-space character. And since we want to match a bunch of those, we're going to add a plus, and we're going to close it with a quote. And bam, we've now matched this entire phrase right here. So that's what we want to do. We want to match this phrase. Well, actually, we wanted to do more than that. We didn't just want to match this phrase. We wanted to capture this URL right from inside of there. So hopefully this part made sense as we walked through it. You can see there's really nothing magic. It's just escape characters for literals, where we have this /s for multiple space characters, /w for multiple alphanumeric characters. The plus says as many as we can get here. So now what we want to do is want to capture this little chunk right inside of there. So the way that we do that is we use parentheses. And in regular expressions, and this goes all the way back to Perl's regular expressions, using parentheses it does two things. First, it creates a grouping of stuff. And second, it captures that group. So you can do something like this, put a parenthesis around this HTTP section. I'm just going to do that right here. And now you can see it's captured right down there. It's captured my YouTube URL. So that's sort of a neat feature of these. If you put these parentheses around, now it's going to capture whatever's inside those parentheses. And you can do that for anything. You can do multiple captures, actually. Let's say we wanted to capture inside of that, we wanted to capture specifically just the ID, just the stuff after the V equals. We can put parentheses around this /W part, this part that matches our text, and now you can see we've got a second capture here, and it's captured this part for us. So you can do these parentheses anywhere you want to capture something. It's kind of cool. Another thing we can do here, let's try this. So one of the problems that we had with this particular issue, or with this section here, is that it was capturing only the first link. You'll notice we have a bunch of YouTube videos in here, and he wanted to get all of the YouTube videos out, but when you do a regular expression by itself, its default is to just stop after it's matched something. So it says, okay, I found it, here it is, we're done. You'll notice here you have a slash, and then you have a closing slash, and then you have this section with a bunch of weird letters. These are called modifiers. And what this will do is this will change the behavior of the regular expression, of the way it captures stuff. So if we want to say, give me this, here's the regular expression, but now we want it to match every single instance that we find it. We don't just want it to match the first one that it finds. We can just put a G right after the slash here. And now you can see, bam, it matches every single one, every single instance that it finds. And it doesn't matter if this one has more spaces than the others. It doesn't matter if this one has a different alphanumeric set of characters. It's going to match as long as it keeps this pattern. And by the way, the section inside of here between the slashes, this is called the regular expression pattern. So you guys are going to see this pattern here. This is what describes what your data is going to look like when you match it. And if you wanted to see what this looks like in JavaScript, let's pop on over. We're going to put our iframe source now in here. And after the closing slash, we hit a G. So whenever you're doing a regular expression, make sure you keep an eye on these slashes here, because these are important. And after the slash, these are all modifiers. So the /G will now match every single instance that we find. Okay, so that's cool. That's one of the more interesting modifiers. Another problem we might have is these come in different capitalizations. So what if this came in as a capital Y for YouTube? You can see now it doesn't match. Even though that's still valid and we want to capture it, it won't match now because this Y was capitalized. And when you're typing in a regular expression, it's matching exactly the character that you gave it. So another modifier that we can kind of mess with is the I modifier. And what that does is it says match it even if the casing doesn't match. So if we put an I, now you can see a capital Y YouTube that matches. So we're going to add this to our JavaScript just to try it and see what it looks like. And I know you're going to look at this and you're going to start to realize, why this is why developers, even professional seasoned developers, they kind of get scared off by regular expressions. And once you break it down, once you see it in this form, you start to understand, well, it's just a tool and I can just take this, decompose it into its parts. It's matching text called iframe. It's matching text called source with a quote after it. It's capturing everything inside of these quotes right here, or these parentheses, and it's capturing everything inside here also. Then it starts to become a little more clear what's going on. So don't be afraid to look at a regular expression and try to figure out what it's doing. And you can drop it into this tool to get some nice highlighting and stuff. So that's how you use a case-insensitive modifier. So now you have this other modifier that we can use. One other thing that we saw in another problem that we tackled was some of these links were coming in as HTTPS. And then we had a few of them as well that were coming in not as the youtube.be link, which is their shortened URL, but it was coming in as a full youtube.com. And so we had a couple of different scenarios where we still wanted to capture this, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense to create multiple regular expressions. So one thing that we can do here as well is we can create a group here, and let's just try this out. So this HTTP and the youtube.be, that's going to change now. We're going to want to say, okay, it can match either this or it can match this. And because we have our case-insensitive modifier, we don't have to worry about matching, capital YouTube or lowercase YouTube. It's just going to match if it works properly, if it's got this I modifier. So let's do that. Let's say, okay, we want to take this beginning part right here, and let's just extract it out. We want to say it could be either, and I'm going to show you this technique first. We're going to say it could be either HTTP youtube.be, or it could be HTTP youtube.be.com. Sorry. And this little this little object, this Boolean operator or allows you to choose between either one side or the other, and it's going to match both. So we're going to say this will match either youtube.be or youtube.com. And in fact, I'm going to take this a step further because this could also match HTTP or https.youtube.com. I'll start out with this first, and then I'll show you that second part in a second here. So we want to take this guy, and I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it right in the top here. So instead of having our youtube.be match, now we're going to say match either youtube.com or youtube.be. And you can see here I have some reds. I just need to go through and escape these guys out. Escape it out, escape it out. And I have a dot here I want to escape. I have another dot here I want to escape. But I want to keep this guy. And we're going to see now it matches not only youtube.be, but also youtube.com. So now we have this matching or either this one or this one. So now, again, it's starting to look kind of ugly, but if you break it down, you should be able to understand what this is doing pretty easily. A little more hairy for developers here, right? But when you see it like that and you think about it, which each piece is doing, read it from left to right, makes it a little simpler. One other thing I want to do here is I don't know if it's going to be HTTP or HTTPS. So I'm just going to get rid of that in here. I'm going to get rid of that there, and I'm going to get rid of it here. I still need something to go in there because see now it's not matching at all. Oh, shoot, sorry. I'm going to put that out in front. So it can match either youtube.be or youtube.com, and it can be either HTTP or HTTPS. So I'm going to drop this guy right up in here at the top. Bam. Now it matches HTTP, youtube.com, HTTPS, youtube.com, HTTP, youtube.be. Matches all of these things, which is what we wanted. And it's just using this or behavior to say it matches this or that. You can actually make it do a bunch of things, like you can match any set of characters. This isn't special, this word HTTP. You could say it matches A or B. You could say this specific one character matches A or B, or matches, 2B, not 2B, right? Either way, you can use this not to, or this or to separate out two sections that both could be valid at the same time, and you still want to capture. Cool. So now we've got these in here, and you can see each of these captures happening, right? These are all separate captures. And look at this. Now we have the full link on top. We have this HTTP or HTTPS in the front, whichever one that was, because each of these parentheses is capturing whatever it had inside of it. It's capturing what that piece was. Now this could be pretty handy information to have, right? This could be pretty cool. I'm gonna take these slashes out. I'm gonna put them right in the middle of those two captures because I like this to just be clean. See that? All I did was I took it outside of this closing, outside of this capturing parenthesis. So I had it inside. Now I'm gonna put it outside. Right, just like that. Oh, it doesn't capture it. But actually, this could be handy. It'd be nice to know I'm using HTTPS versus HTTP. But you may not actually want all of this. Our goal really, when we started, and the goal from earlier this week, he didn't even want this full link. He really just wanted this right here, this V section, this view, so you could get the ID of the video. But it kind of clutters up as you start to add these parentheses, and it's great to use them for grouping, but the capturing behavior is not always desirable. Sometimes you just don't want it to capture whatever's inside there. You just want to use the parentheses to group stuff. And so we can use a special character, a special modifier inside of these parentheses to tell it, hey, I want you to use these parentheses, but I just want to use them to group. I don't want you to use them to capture anything. And to do that, we use a question mark colon right inside of the parenthesis. Now that might be a little confusing. I'm going to do that one more time. So whenever you have the parentheses, these right here, each of these parentheses captures stuff. We don't want it to capture in this case. We want it to just group them together so I can do this little nice or. So I'm going to use a question mark colon. And now you'll see I'm no longer capturing that. I also don't want to capture the full link here either. I really just want to capture that one word. So I'm going to put a question mark colon at the beginning here as well, because I don't want it to capture the entire link. I just want to use that to group stuff together. I also don't want to capture the youtube.be or youtube.com because that doesn't really matter. It's going to work with the same video ID no matter what. So let's go ahead and make that not capture as well. And now you can see we're only getting back the piece that we wanted. It's still matching the whole string no matter what we do here, but now we're just getting back this one piece. I seem to have lost this guy at the end, and I don't know why, but that's okay. I'll try to figure that out later. I think it's because I used different youtube.be, youtube.com. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know what I did wrong there. But in any case, that's how you use this syntax here. This start of a non-capturing group is what it calls it. And so you can think of this parenthesis as a capture plus a grouping, and the question mark with this little, or the parenthesis with this question mark colon after it, that's just a group by itself without any kind of capture. And so you get this kind of behavior right here. And drop this into our JavaScript regular expression, and now we're going to see just why and how scary and how often that developers get scared of this. This is why, because they see stuff like this and they think, well, yeah, never mind, I think I'm not going to bother. I don't think I want to bother with this at all. But if you take the time, if you break it down piece by piece, then you can see how this all plays out. And you can see once you get decent enough at regular expressions, you're going to look like a wizard to most of the people that you work with. They're going to come to you for problems that are hard for them to solve without regular expressions, but that they just haven't taken the time to actually learn. And regular expressions are not actually all that hard. They're just text with modifiers in it. So you can see how we built this one up. Let me see here. I'll have to set up the mechanism for us to have questions next time because it looks like I don't have it on here. I had it earlier in the week and now for some reason it's just not going. What I can do though really quickly is set up a nice little Google Doc. And if anybody wants to join in on that, I'm going to do that right now. And I'm just going to set that up so we can have some questions come in. I'll have a better mechanism for you guys next time. And I'll also have a nice little quiz thing going on next time as well. I just couldn't remember the name of the program I used. So let's see, this is going to be questions for, and today is Friday, August 7th. So I'm going to put this up here on Google Docs. I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys. So if you have the link, we're going to go ahead and let you guys edit this, and you can actually start asking questions. You know what I should have done as a Google form? Maybe that's what I'll do next time. You guys can go ahead and go to the link I'm going to put right here. Let me see. I'm just going to stick it right in Cloud9, create a new one, and I'm going to make it big. Oh man, you guys are going to have trouble with that. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? I'll tell you what, let's get a bit.ly. Let's get a bit.ly of that. Let's do bit.ly. Bit.ly. We'll make it nice and small. I know Google has one too, and I'm just going to drop this one in here. Let's shorten it. And there you go. You guys can use this link right here. bit.ly.com 1IT5WC9. So if you guys have any questions, if you'd like to, have me cover something in there that we talked about, if you'd like a little more clarification, go ahead and start throwing stuff on this document. I see at least one other person came in, so at least you guys have access to it. That's good. Yeah, feel free to shoot me a question in here. You should have access to edit it. Yeah. All right. Anyone? Yep. Anyone can edit, so we're good. Yeah. So that was kind of the the quick and dirty on regular expressions. This tool right here that I've been using during the session is regex101.com. It's got some really neat tools in it that you can use to learn regular expressions and also to get better at using them if you already kind of have a beginning understanding of it. This can give you a lot more information. It also gives you hints and shows you highlighting so that you can so that you can do what you need to do in regular expressions, so you can learn how to use them and get better at them, and stuff like that. So there's the link right there if you guys have questions, you want to drop them in. I see a few people already starting to kind of trickle in here. This is good. Yeah, let me see. And I'll show you, so in JavaScript, you'll see most languages have different methods of accessing regular expressions and using regular expressions. My favorite still to this day is Perl. You could say $ whatever, and then you could actually create a regular expression just matching whatever's in this string using this right here, this syntax. In JavaScript, you have to create a regex object, which I did here, and then create a matcher, which allows you to then match strings. And if you want, I can kind of give you a little bit of that here. Yeah, let me pull up something there that you guys can use. What I'll do is I'll show you guys how to do a nice little regular expression match. So in JavaScript, the string has a prototype called .match. So let's say I had this string in that I had in the regex tester. Let's say I had this guy in JavaScript. And I guess I should leave this. I'm going to leave this right here on the side so you guys can see it while I'm working on this. So let's say we had this string to match in JavaScript. We're going to make it that whole section of code that I showed you guys. And actually, I'm going to show you a neat little technique here that I use all the time. Whenever I'm doing large strings like that, I like to put them on separate lines to keep the formatting right. But I don't, it's kind of ugly to do a plus and a string at the end of it. So I like to actually turn these guys into arrays and then put a comma there. And at the end, I join the array using a /n character of some kind. So I can do a .join /n, and now my, and actually this needs to be in double quotes so it actually escapes properly. Now I can turn this into a string of each of these. So I still get to keep my formatting, I still get to make it look nice and pretty, and I need to put a comma at the end of these. Oh, one other thing that's kind of cool, check this out in Cloud9. You probably have this in other editors as well, but I think it's really neat. Let's say you have a task just like the one I'm doing right now, where you have to select multiple lines and do the same thing to them all. You can hit, in Mac, it's the Alt key, and I think it is the Alt key in Windows as well. You can click, you can hit the Alt key and it turns your cursor into a plus. You can just drag and add multiple cursors in line at the same time. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my beginning quote to every line. I'm going to go to the end of the line by using Command arrow on my Mac, and this is going to be Control arrow on your Windows machine. Add the closing and add a comma. And now I just saved myself a ton of work by using multiple cursors at the same time. I'll show you that one more time so you guys can see it again. You hit the, in Windows, I believe, on Mac and also in Windows, I believe, you hit the Alt key, you click, and you just drag. And you're going to get multiple cursors. You can actually select multiple lines at the same time. I'm just creating a single insert cursor here so that I can hit my open quote, arrow over to the side, close quote, comma. And then the last line, I'm just going to get rid of that comma. So save me a little bit of work there. In the string class in JavaScript, so the string to match, once I added this join at the end, it turned this whole entire array into just one long string. In order to get that to match in a regular expression, I can actually just use a class here called .match. So I've got my regex right here, I've got my string right here, and now I can just say string to match .match and pass in my regex. And that's going to give me the captures, and this will be an array that it returns. So I'm going to say var capture array equals string to match .match my regex, and now that's going to give me back everything that we saw in my regex tester right here. It's going to give me an array. One item from each of these is going to be in the array. So that's how you would use it in JavaScript on a string. There's another way to match with regular expressions as well, but this one I think is the most interesting, so this is the one that I use. And you can find that in the Mozilla documentation. If you go to the, and by the way, if you're working in JavaScript, the Mozilla docs are the place to go. That should be your #1 source of information first. They're by far the best. And Mozilla came from Netscape. Netscape invented JavaScript, so you have still some of the best developers in the world working on it. And it's a really well-written set of documentation. So you can go in here, you can grab this. Let's see, it's going to be at mozilla.org, developer.mozilla.org. I always just search for string match Mozilla, and it'll pull this page up. And you can see how to use it. And you'll see this Mozilla doc here. And by the way, one of these days, in one of these sessions, I think today we don't have enough time, but I'll explain in JavaScript, in Mozilla, how to read these. There's actually a really neat structure to how their documentation is set up. We won't have time for it today, but something you guys can check out if you're curious, and check out the site. It's pretty neat. Let me see. Nobody's asked any questions yet, which is fine. That means everything I said made perfect sense. I guess probably not, but luckily you can go back and read this anytime you want, rewatch this anytime you'd like. So if you had any questions in between, I'll make sure that next week we have a nice little form set up so you can ask questions throughout as we go along. Let me see here. Yeah, so that's basically the setup for today. So this is Coding Your Face Off Live. The goal of this every week is we're going to be covering different topics. Today we covered regular expressions, and we also covered Cloud9, how to get it set up, how to get your own account. And if you're working in the web, it's a really convenient IDE to have. I find myself, and actually in a production environment as the CTO of a company, there was no option if I had something that I needed to do, if there was an emergency, if the computer was, the website was on fire and it crashed, I had to be able to access it from anywhere. And I don't always bring my computer with me. And there were several times when I was at Carte Blanche that we'd have something happen with the server, and I had to go in and fix it. And I would hop on any computer that I had available to me, my aunt, my mom, whoever's computer was open. I'd run over there, I'd hop onto Cloud9.io, I'd drop into my workspace, and I had my entire environment up in a browser in a minute. Fix the problem. Usually it was a 2-second fix. I would deploy straight to Heroku, and we were back in business within 5 minutes, no matter where I was. So very powerful idea in terms of a production web system. If you're looking to start a company, if you're looking to be the tech person at a company, something like this is pretty valuable. You'll find yourself messing around with configuration on your computer a lot. And having something like this, which is pre-configured, accessible from anywhere, and very fast, it's kind of invaluable. So I recommend highly getting at least an understanding and a feel for Cloud9. If you're planning on doing web development, I think it'll be a useful tool for you. Alrighty, so we don't have any questions, and I think, you know, at this point it'll be a good time to wrap up this show, or this week's discussion. So if you guys do have any questions throughout the week, I'm going to put a link on the YouTube page where you guys can start submitting questions, submitting topics that you would like me to discuss, or that you would like to get kind of an understanding and a background in, and I'll just keep those going. And every week I'll also be providing some insight into the topics that my students have come up with, the things that are common to their experience, not only in Block, but in general in programming and coding. The same issues come up a lot, and so it's nice to have a resource here that we can all use to share and get a better understanding of this stuff. So with that said, I will leave you guys to it. Have a great day. Thank you for watching the show, and I hope to see you all next week. Thank you very much.